How y'all doing? Burnin with G, episode 5. I just wanted to say I'm recording this podcast a little late because it was my best friend John's birthday, but I made a commitment to myself that I would record a podcast every other Monday, so here I am. I'm getting it out right before the day ends. I hope you guys are all doing fantastically. Let's get straight to it. So today what I want to talk about is the importance of listening and how we can all just be better at it. It's one of those skills that I personally really want to work on because I want to be able to be that person that everyone feels like they can actually be heard around them. A lot of times we feel like we're not really heard or what we have to say doesn't really matter. And I think we can all change that if we all just listen better. And what got me thinking about this is I recently started going to therapy. I would say maybe around 8 weeks ago. I've been 3 times, and that's kind of just showed me this whole other world of what it means to actually be there for someone. And that's so weird that the person who actually taught me that is the one person who probably gives 0 fucks about me. And I think that there's a lot of power in that. So let's get straight to it. So I started going to therapy, as I said, almost 8 weeks ago. I was really going through it, and I just felt like I didn't have the right mental tools to be able to just make my way through life in a healthy manner. So I looked online and everybody was saying, go to therapy, it'll be really helpful. And little did I know that they were all really, really right. So I went in. The first session, it was just really awkward for me. I was comfortable sharing, things about myself and my past, but it was just weird to be like, this person actually just is going to know almost everything about me, and I'm not really going to hold things back. And I think that it took me a little while to get used to that. But by the second and third time, it was really casual, and everything has just been really smooth. But I think the 2 or 3 biggest things that I've gotten from that is the power when someone purely just listens to you and doesn't interrupt. They don't give you advice. They don't tell you what they believe is right or wrong. They just listen. They affirm what you have to say as if what you have to say matters, and they just listen. Instead of someone always, when I talk to my parents, for example, they always think they have the solution to any problem that I'm going through, and they'll give it to me. They'll tell you, this is what you should do, and this is how you fix your problem. But in this situation, she doesn't tell me what I need to do. She doesn't tell me what I should do. She doesn't tell me what I can do. She literally just listens. And by the end of the session, I kind of have some sort of good idea of what I need to do myself. And that makes the idea come from my head. And that's a very powerful way to reach conclusions. Another thing that I really like about therapy is how accepting she is. There is no bad or good things to say. She doesn't judge me. She doesn't, based on something I've done in the past, she doesn't think that's who I am anymore. And that gives a lot of freedom because you can just say everything that's on your head and you know that this person's not going to be like, oh, this is a terrible human being. And what's even better is she makes me feel like it's okay to feel however I feel. And I think that's very important for us to instill in the people around us as well. It took me a while to really visualize and understand that we're the ones who make stress or anger or fear a bad feeling. It's not our body that does that. To our body, all these feelings are just feelings. Feelings are just a way to promote some sort of action, right? When you feel stress, your body is now prompted to act in a certain way to fix it. When you feel happy, your body is prompted to act in a certain way to respect that feeling. And that's all feelings are. We then go ahead and take an extra step further and say, okay, I'm going to separate these half into bad and these half into good. But when I speak about these feelings to my therapist, that entire need to do that is just gone. And that makes me just understand feelings for what they really are, just feelings. So after these 2, there's so many positive things I've gotten from my therapy experience. I definitely recommend everyone to go try it. It's really, really enlightening and helpful. And I think it's easy to visualize your own journey when you're able to go in every 2 or 3 weeks and explain, what's going on, what's happened, how have you improved, or how have you gotten worse from the last time. It's a really nice check-in point, and it's been really helpful for me. But what's more important is I've been able to take the things that my therapist has taught me and implement them into my own life. And one of the best things I've realized is I've gotten to be a much better listener now. I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I definitely feel myself making huge improvements from where I was before. So I can basically summarize all of my improvements in listening to these simple words. Is the person that's talking to me Do they want to be listened to, or do they want advice? And that's all I ask myself over and over and over again when someone talks to me. Do they want to be listened to, or do they want advice? And this is the only question that matters. Oftentimes when we talk to our friends, we always think, oh, they're only talking to me because they want to know what I would do. They only want to talk to me so I can tell them how to fix it. But the thing is, sometimes we don't know either. And I think that's very powerful into understanding that. We're not some sort of superhumans who can feel and understand how everyone else processes information and processes experiences. Sometimes we just have no idea, and that's okay. And most of the time that's how it is. I have no idea how it would be like to be in your shoes and experience what you go through. Therefore, I'm not going to tell you what you should do or ought to do. I'm just going to listen. So that's why I ask myself that question over and over. Does this person want to be listened to, or do they want advice? And most of the time it's purely just be listened to. So what are ways that we can do that, right? The best questions that I've seen a lot of people ask, and my therapist asked me, which helps a lot, is how do you feel is the first question. So let's say something happens, so I go through some sort of experience. The first question is asked is, how does that make you feel, right? How does going through that experience make you feel? And I think this is a really powerful question because we don't think about it that much. How does something really make us feel? Like actually sitting there, and most of the time when you ask this question, you'll realize no one has an immediate answer. They will sit back and think for a little bit and be like, I never thought about that. How does it make me feel? And they'll give you a very brutal and honest answer. Then the second part is, why do you think that made you feel that way? That's the second best question. I'm telling you, you ask anybody these questions in that specific order, they will come to whatever realization that they need to by themselves. You need to say nothing else. Just keep asking them questions about why they feel the way they feel and how they feel. And I think that these two questions will make all of our relationships so much stronger, because people will finally be able to open up to us. And we don't have to, if you see those are questions, none of those are statements, none of those are commands, none of those are, you should do this, you should do that. It's purely just, how do you feel about it? There's a lot of freedom in these questions. So once these questions are asked, in my recent experience, a lot of people will come to just a deeper understanding of what they're going through, as well as feel in a place of vulnerability. So it's very important to remind everyone that, hey, whatever you're going through, it'll be okay. Think of a time that you were very stressed out before. Are you still stressed out about that time now? And most people will say no, because everything goes away with time. And I think it's really, when, you think about all of us, when I go through something, when I'm in the middle of stressing out about something, I think my whole world revolves around that. Nothing else matters, right? But when someone really grounds you and tells you, hey, everything is going to be okay, it gives you some sort of calm and sense of time, and just everything does go away and everything will be okay. That is really helpful for everyone to hear. So apart from these three statements, there's oftentimes not much more to be said. But what is the most important thing, with body language and the way we actually acknowledge what the other person has to say, is really just being present. When someone is really opening up to you, don't look at your phone, don't look out the window, give them eye contact and just nod your head and actually listen and try to hear what they're saying. So this is something this was probably the hardest part for me. It's easy to ask questions. I mean, what's so difficult about that? Quick water break, mate. Water hits the spot sometimes. So yeah, I ask these questions and people are opening up to me, and it's hard for me to stay focused. I'll just be like, damn, this girl got some nice eyebrows, or damn, what's wrong with that dude's face? Like, those are the things that I just have some weird thoughts that go through my head sometimes, and that completely takes away from me actually being present and listening to them. Which then leads me to my next point. How can we be more present in our conversations and in our life so we can be much better listeners? This leads me to the book that I just finished, which I highly recommend. Again, I feel like I recommend all the books that I read. They've all just been recommended to me, and everyone who's made recommendations to me have been on point. My other best friend's girlfriend gave me this book for my birthday, and I'm so glad she did. It's a fantastic book. It's called The Alchemist. It's basically about this boy and his adventure to finding out what his personal legend is. In this book, they define personal legend as what your soul really wants to accomplish with your life. And everything in the world basically just works in your favor so that you can accomplish that goal. This is a highly spiritual book, so I definitely recommend having an open mind before reading it. A lot of the parts I was definitely like, what on earth are you talking about? And I know that was only because I was going into it with not the most open of minds reading the book, but the idea is that the world, crazy. I'm going to just drop this. This is the craziest thing that I feel like I got in the book. The entire world had to work in a certain way for you to be here today. If you think about it, 4.6 billion years I think the earth has been around. You know how many things had to go perfectly for you to be alive this very second? It's crazy. Every asteroid had to hit that same spot. Whatever species met to bring your great ancestors alive had to have fucked at that exact time to bring those ancestors. Those ancestors had to have met your mom and dad at the same time. They had to have lived in the same place. They had to have done that for generations after generations after generations. No one should have died. No one should have just been hit by a car accident, just something stupid. And everything had to work a certain way for you to be exactly where you are today. Crazy. That's just insane. The probability of us being alive today is 1 in a gajillion, bajillion, sajillion. I don't even know a number that big. But we're here. We're still here, aren't we? So that the book was just talking about how powerful that is. We don't need much else. Just being alive, we're breaking all odds. Our being alive right now is enough for us to be 1 in a quadrillion, because we shouldn't. If you just probability wise, we should not be alive right now. But here I am standing and you're listening to me. That's crazy. So what the book uses this point to really represent is everything in our life is connected. Decisions that we make now are connected to the entire future of the world later. If we make different decisions, the world could turn out to be a completely different place. So let me tell you this crazy thing that happened to me. So I'm laying down on, this was Friday, I just finished a midterm. I was like, man, I just want to appreciate that I'm alive right now. So there's this nice little tree in this grass area at my school. So I go down, lay down, and I'm just like looking at the sky. And this leaf just falls off a tree and falls on me. I go through the weirdest spiritual experience with this leaf ever. I'm just looking at it. And I'm like, this leaf was alive on this tree and it dies, right? When it falls off, it has no more nutrients. It dies and falls on me. And I'm like, how likely is that? What are the possibility that this leaf happened to end his life and falls on me just when I'm here contemplating what it even means to be alive? It was just like something had called for that to happen at that specific moment. And it just hit me because that's all we need. If we look at every single moment in our life, there are just things that are so beautiful just about the existence of that thing itself. And I think that's where being present comes from. The appreciation of the beauty of the world that we live in. And when I say beauty, I'm not talking about aesthetic views. I'm talking about the likelihood of things being exactly the way they are and the fact that they are. And I think that is beautiful in itself. And the more and more we grow to appreciate those things, the more present we can be. So using this idea of, the beauty and probability back to what we were talking about, listening. Every time someone's talking to you and you feel like your mind was wandering a little, just sit back and think, what is a possibility of me and this person being in this car or this room or this whatever, talking? We both somehow found each other when we're going through our own journeys and we happen to interlink in our lives. And this person then also feels comfortable enough to share all these things with me. How beautiful is that? That human connection there, it's so coincidental, but it's happening right now. And then really just listen to what they're saying and try to find meaning in what they're saying. Maybe there's something that connects to you. Maybe there's something in what they have to say that means something to you. And the more you pay attention to small details like that, it becomes so easy. So I tried this one time. So I'm sitting at the library. I wanted, because I was reading the book and I was like, I want to try this actually. The book talks a lot about omens. I'm actually going to have my next podcast purely about this book with one of my best friends. So I don't want to, talk too much about the book, but there's this concept of omens that come into the book that talks about look for things in your life that point you in the direction of your personal legend, right? And they basically say, since the world is conspiring in your favor, there will always be some sort of sign. So I was like, all right, let me try that. So I'm sitting at the library library, I put my book down, and for the next 10 minutes, I just look around me. And I'm just looking for meaning in everybody's faces, in everyone's relationships, everyone's conversations. I just look. And that was probably the most in the present I have ever been in my life. Like, I was not thinking about anything else. I was just observing. And it was this weird power that just came to me then, where I wasn't thinking about the past or the future, and it was just, what's going on around me? Is there something that's happening between that person's conversation and that person that somehow applies to me? And the idea is, if you're able to do that throughout your entire day, you will always be present. And I think that's a really powerful thing, especially when it comes to listening and conversations. So what I really want to just reiterate is that I want everyone to know that they matter, and what you have to say and what you have to think and how you feel all matters. We just live in this world where I personally believe we're all so disconnected from each other, when essentially we're all the same. Essentially, we are all one and the same. And I just want everyone to know that you matter. And I think we oftentimes look for others to validate that for us. We look for girlfriends, we look for other people to tell us that we are loved and that we matter. But I just really think that it's time that we're all able to switch that around and let ourselves know. We just beat all odds to just be alive. We do matter. We are important. We are all important. So I have a little bit of homework for everyone. 3 things. The first one, the next time somebody confides in you, I want you to ask yourself, does this person want advice, or do they want listened to? Right? What we talked about earlier. I want everyone to ask themselves that and see how that actually changes the conversations that they have. The next one is what the 2 questions that we had asked earlier, or the 3, I guess. How do you feel? Why does it make you feel that way? And it'll be okay. I want you to try asking these questions and letting them know in the next conversation when someone confides in you, and really think about how that changed the type of conversation, how that changed the connection between you two, and what it opened up. And the third one is, when you're waiting for the bus, or you're waiting to eat, or you're waiting, instead of using your phone or distracting yourself through some other means, I want you to really sit there and actually think, what are the chances of this actually happening? Is there any meaning in this that's going to help me elevate myself? And you really observe all the things that go on around you, and let me know how that makes you feel. Does it make you feel more present? Does it make you feel, what the fuck am I doing? I want to go, sleep. Just let me know. I'm battling this cold right now, so I sound kind of dead, but I'm gonna be back 2 weeks from now, better than ever. So I wish you all the best of luck. Let's go thrive and be really happy people. It's time to take control of our lives, and I'm really excited to be able to go through this experience with all of you. All right, I'm out. How y'all doing?